everyone. Hello. Today is Thursday. Today we're talking about career club, everything, resumes, career building, cover letters, interview tips. Whatever you can think of. If you're a job hunter, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your questions. My name is IanTheHRPro. I'm an HR consultant here in Edmonton, Alberta, and you are watching and or listening to IanTheHRPro live podcast where I'm dangerously unscripted. As I've said in previous shows, it's just because I'm too lazy, man. Too lazy. It's my show. I can do what I want. And finally, says my sister, finally. Okay, I apologize. Fudge, I forgot to send you my resume. Oh, that's right. I was going to review Joy's resume today. Joy Grant in Wabasca. What she changed it. In the time it said finally to when she sent the second message, it changed from Joy Grant to Joy Grant in Wabasca. Anyway, thank you for the comment, and I apologize. We got some cleaners in the house today. They're cleaning the upstairs and the bathroom, and they were vacuuming outside my door, so I was kind of giving them an extra couple minutes to get that done before I started. Yes, I had someone else to blame for my tardiness on my own show. So there. Bleh. I forgot to update my own resume. I was going to add podcast host to my resume, and I'd made a bunch of updates from last week. I think we went through my resume last week, and I made a few changes and updates. It's a solid 3 pages. So I can go over that again. Or if Joy wants to send her resume, we can also go over that. Go over hers. She can email it to me, and I can open it up, and then I will grill her resume and tell her it's a piece of crap and she should just stop trying to get jobs. No, I wouldn't do that. I mean, everyone's resume, you're gonna have your own style to it. Everyone's gonna have little quirks and idiosyncrasies. I don't even know what those words mean. Forget it. They're just different. Everyone's resume is a little bit different. And what I say, because I have been in a situation where I've been trying to read 500 resumes. I kid you not. I had like 6 stacks and we're all like this tall. And I was trying to sort them out by expertise. So I had heavy equipment operators, and when you have heavy equipment operators, you have like 3 or 4 different types. And then I had just laborers, and I had skilled laborers. So we're talking about pipe fitters and welders and heavy duty mechanics and things like that, right? So I was trying to sort through all these, and a lot of times a heavy equipment operator, the resume is pretty simple. It's name, address, and I spent the last 20 years working at this company running cat and excavator, right? And that's it. Then they had a previous job where they worked there for 5 years running packer and rock truck driving, right? Like, and that's it. There's no explanation of what they did with the excavator or anything like that. It was just excavator. Sometimes they would put in the model, aka the size of the piece of equipment. So yeah, I'm sorting through that, but it makes it easy that way. Then you can quickly sort them out. But you kind of have this rating with heavy equipment operators, right? A newbie heavy equipment operator is going to be like packer, rock truck, maybe skid steer, but they do need specific certifications to run the skid steer. It's strange. I can get in a packer and roll everything over. Oops, excuse me. And what else? When you start getting into heavy equipment, you kind of like you go from the rock truck into something like the cat, the dozer, and then why have I forgotten? The front end loader, and then you go into excavator, the big arm that you dig this way, and then you move into grader operator. If you're a good grader operator, you're worth your weight in gold. Basically, I kind of classed it as grader operators were like level 4 heavy equipment operators, and everyone else was a lower level. And because having your grader operator go out on site to some logging road, oil field road, and plowing that road, grading that road for the client is really important. Because if you have someone in there who's totally inexperienced and they bugger up the road, oh my God, your company's going to lose the contract, and the road's going to get messed up, right? So you really, once you get a grader operator, you really end up being a good equipment operator. And if you think you can just go straight into grading, I think you need to second guess that and try out all the other equipment first, just so you get familiar with it, right? So with my resume, I'll just double check, see if Joy sent her resume or not for us to look at. Just a message telling me from YouTube that we're live. So no email from Joy. Maybe it went into junk mail. No. Anyway, you don't have to, Joy. No problem. Empty the folder. Yeah. Okay, so I'm updating my resume, but I've got, like, as of this past week, I picked up 2 new contracts, and they're training contracts. So one contract is from TP Legacy HR Plus. They do human resource training for managers, and they got 3 levels of courses and 6 courses in each level. So I'm going to be starting to do some of that training with their corporate clients. So I'm kind of a corporate trainer in that respect. They're not public trainings or anything like that. These are being paid for by big corporations. Earl Grey tea, getting cold. So I picked up that contract, and my first contract should be mid-December. And so I'm excited about that. I'm going to start doing some training like that. Basically, workshop training type things. Like they book hotel boardrooms, and we go in there, and that's where we train. That's where I train them, and I'm excited. Because I haven't done, well, I've done a little bit, right? But not specifically a workshop about a specific topic. I have done a lot of facilitating along with my wife for the Kairos blanket exercise. So, and we do it for, I said do. We facilitate for organizations, and there's some big organizations, like we've gone to like Shell Canada and other smaller mid-sized organizations, and we facilitated for that. So I've kind of been in that corporate environment, but I haven't done a specific, this is a course, this is a module to help you get certified in something, right? So that's exciting. And I also picked up, along with the Kairos blanket exercise, I'm a facilitator for When I originally worked for Kairos back in 2019, I actually helped train new facilitators, and since then I've just been facilitating myself. But now they've gotten into the mode to start training some new facilitators, so I will be helping to train new facilitators through Kairos. And this is pretty exciting because this September I could have used a certified facilitator to help out, because we had so many KBEs, Kairos blanket exercises, that my wife was taking too much time off work to come help me. So we had to like reschedule a couple just to accommodate her schedule. And it would have been really helpful if I had someone else I could call up. Then I could have just no holds barred, just done them all whenever they'd requested instead of trying to finagle times. A lot of this training ends up being during the day, during the week. So occasionally we catch one that's on the weekend, but that's pretty rare. Ian at Little Blue House. I don't know what you got going on there, Joy. Yeah, it came in. So do you want me to edit it on? Did you give me edit rights? You can edit the following. Okay, let's see if it opens up. Editor. Okay. Oh, now it's asking me to request access. Oh, that's because my Google email address is tattootroll@gmail.com, Joy. So I will request access through that email address. So you should get that request. Although I see that you also sent it, so maybe I could have just done it at my end. But I mean, if we're editing it, we can go through it. So what was I talking about? Yeah, my second new contract. So I will be training new Kairos blanket exercise facilitators, and this is the corporate side. So this is a big organization that says, hey, we want internal trainers to run the blanket exercise within our organization. So you're saying an organization with like 5,000-10,000 employees, and they want to train like a handful of employees to be facilitators so that they can do this internally more often, and to go along with their reconciliation stuff. Why is it showing on my face? Get it out! Okay, I don't know what it is. Anyway, so I'm excited about that. Basically, I've got like 2 contracts going with Kairos to be a facilitator and to be, they're calling it general instructor. Yes, exciting, general instructor. I'm going to try to connect with another local agency that does the same thing, and maybe we can work together, because if I get one contract where someone's got 5 and they've got someone who's got 5, I mean, together that's 10. Just the way the training works out, a new trainer has to experience the newest version of the Kairos blanket exercise before they get into training. So it's like a 2.5-day training, and that's great. I'm excited, man. So a couple extra contracts coming in, and they're ongoing contracts. They're not one-time things. So this is great. If I can do a little bit of that, maybe my dream will come true. Oh, I have this dream where I can open an actual office. I'm working out of my home. I'm a home office. I rent places when I do training, or the host has their own location when I'm doing that training, or I'm doing my consulting work usually through Zoom. I'm speaking with the managers and the owners and stuff, right? Occasionally I go on location, but since COVID, do you really need your HR consultant to show up? Now, let's just talk here. So, but I have this dream to open my own office, and it's not just an office. Oh, so obviously I need an office that's set up as like a podcast studio, right? So I could do this, but if I had a couple cameras and a second mic, for my guests who might come in, and just, that'd be cool. That'd be so cool. So I could continue doing the podcast. She already shared with the other email address. Oh, excuse me. I can open it. Open this in. I'm opening Chrome. No, get out of here, Chrome. I want to open in a new window. Yes, I like that better. All right, so where's my... There you are. Okay, I lost you for a second. I always open a second window when I'm going to share something, because then I can keep my screen open. Also, my bro-in-law wants to attend your next public blanket event. Oh. Well, I don't know when the next public one will be. We try to do one every on or about September 30th. We usually book the hall for the Sunday around that time. So this is the Queen Mary Park Community Hall here in downtown Edmonton, and it is the Queen Mary Park Community League who's sponsoring it. So it's open and free to everybody, but you have to RSVP. You have to register for it, because I can only accept up to 50 people. It's not a drop-in thing. It is public and open, but you need to register for it. And this past year, we only had like 5 people show up, and we used stuffed animals to represent more people. It was actually very cute, kind of fun. But it's such a dark topic sometimes that stuffed animal maybe doesn't do it justice, but we're still able to relay the information. So it would be nice if we could get at least 20, and 30 or 40 would be better. So look out for that. I will try advertising it. Now, the interesting thing with the new contracts I got, sorry, choking on a booger. The interesting thing about the new contracts I got is with the Kairos training to train new facilitators, I may have the ability to allow people to come to the event, because we do the Kairos blanket exercise, and the new trainee facilitators have to participate, and then the next day they're in training for the next 2 days, and it's just them in a training. It's not everybody from the blanket exercise, but I may have more opportunities to do a public one, because if I'm only training 5 to 10 people, then I could open it up to another 20 people to come. But I will give them first dibs, so their organization and their the trainees can invite their spouses, their family, or whatever first. I would give them first dibs, and if we don't quite get enough people, I could open it up to the public to come. But it really depends on the organization on whether or not they wanted a private training or not. But there's going to be probably more opportunity. And if I see enough requests or interest, then I could put one on. And I would have to get the community league to sponsor that, or I might charge a fee to pay for the hall rental, stuff like that. Yeah, so that's exciting going on with me. So I had to make some changes to my LinkedIn, and I realized technically I've been working for Kairos Canada for 6.5 years, because I started off as their regional director, and then after that I started facilitating. I mean, everything slowed down during COVID, so we weren't facilitating during COVID, but it's come back, and we continue training, and now I've been hired on as a general instructor. So exciting. I just realized, oh man, that's 6 years. That's 6 years with one organization. And I hadn't put it in my resume like that. I just had my regional director role, and the facilitator stuff, I just put it into my own business, saying I facilitate the Kairos blanket exercise. But this whole time I could have had it set up that it was 6 years with Kairos, and I'm pretty excited about that. So I realize that it's going to make me look good. I mean, it's very contract, very. Is there something in my hair? I don't know what's going on. I need a haircut. If you want me to get a haircut, please donate some money to me. I take e-transfers to my email address. Anyway, so I'm excited about that. So I had to update my LinkedIn, and I didn't have enough time, but I was kind of in the process this morning of making that change also, to indicate that I work for Kairos Canada, and then I held 3 positions, and I have a brief description about each position. And it's just kind of a slightly different format than you would normally see on a resume, right? You normally put job title, years in that job title, and then you put the company or the organization, and then you put your bullet points in, right? So it's slightly different, because I say Kairos Canada, and then I say the 3 different positions and the description. So I thought of this because my wife has worked for the same organization now for just over 17 years, and it's been the same organization, but she's worked in multiple different departments, in multiple different roles. So her resume kind of looks like it just says organization and then the different roles and the departments. So that I don't even, she no longer put, because it's been 17 years, she no longer puts down her previous experience with other organizations. I don't even think she puts down the part-time jobs she's had in the years, because since we've been together, she did work. There's something on my lens, man. It's driving me nuts. She has worked part-time jobs at like 7-Eleven, and doing billing at a trucking company in the evenings. So, I mean, we're hard workers, man. Really, we are. So I don't even think she puts that down anymore, because she just has so much experience with this other organization. So let's share. So there's a bit of noise going on in the hallway. I got the door closed. Hopefully you can't hear the vacuum and whatnot out there. We have my my disabled mother-in-law who lives with us, and we occasionally try to get cleaning service in so that we can make sure the environment's healthy for her. And for us, man, me and my wife, we're not the primary cooks. We're not the primary cleaners in the house. We're terrible. But there's noise. I apologize. That's why we put the background sound music on, so you can't hear me breathing too heavy at this end. So, I forgot. Ask your questions in the comments. Anyone can always ask the questions. Today we are talking about career clubs, so where resumes, cover letters, job hunts, promotions, whatever you want to talk about. Yeah, so that's all that jazz. I'm an HR consultant and I just see applications coming in for my clients, and I've been in organizations, like I said, I'm looking at 500 resumes and they're just piled up there, right? So I like to look at resumes. I enjoy it. But we will look at my sister's resume. Thank you, Joy, for being such a guinea pig. I had her on the show for the Indigenous show on Tuesdays a couple times, once by herself and then once with my mom. So thank you for all the support from my family. Thank you very much. I love you. So I'm going to share Joy's resume now. What I'm going to do first, Joy, is I'm going to block out your personal information. How do I do that? Highlight color. I'm going to highlight color black. Oops, they're still going to see your resume. Let's see if I can highlight that text color. Blue. Yeah, I think I got it. Okay. Trying to hide your personal information. I mean, come on, a resume is all personal information. I was allowed to share. Yes. Okay. Here we are. This is my sister's. This is my big sister. This is her resume. Personal information about the top, her address and stuff. Now, about your personal information, Joy, take off your box number and your home address and even your postal code. Just say hometown, province. Just leave it there. And did you have something else? What else was in the black here? Oh, you can leave your cell phone on. That's fine. Your cell phone and your email address, that's fine. But limit your address. Now, this is kind of different if you're applying for a job in a small town. Most people probably know whereabouts you live, right? It's a small town thing. But if we're talking about someone who lives in a big city like Edmonton or something like that, having your address on there could be a way to be biased against you. Sorry, burped. Because if you live way over on the other side of town from where the work location is, they could say, oh, this person's going to be late all the time because they have to travel to get to the office or to the work location. So if you don't, so it's none of the employer's business how you get to work, whether you have a car or you take the bus or the train or flap your arms and fly to work. It's not their business. So you may be applying for a job where you need a vehicle to do your job in some way. Then they can have a right to ask. And you should already know that. If you're applying for a job that needs a vehicle, it's a primary thing. You're going to know and you can share that information. But in general, most jobs, they don't need to know where you live. They don't need to know how you travel to work, because that's a reason for them to be biased to say, you're going to be late. Sorry, I just attacked a fruit fly. We have a fruit fly infestation in the house right now. We let our compost bins fester just a little too long, and now we lost. So now we're busy trying to kill these little fruit suckers. Anyway, yeah, it's not their business for you to know how you get to work. Whoa, spammer! That was early spammer. What's the time on our show? 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Spammer on Twitch. Cheap viewers. Steamboo.com. I mean, is your service really that great if you got to go over to Twitch and spam and try to get people to go over to Steamboo? You're gone. So, spammer. He was quick. He was quick yesterday too. The day before, 3 days ago, was it Monday? I think. Didn't show up. I went an hour and a half and he didn't show up, and I shut down before he could spam me. But I mean, it's good. Comments are good, I guess. So back to Joy's resume. You don't want that personal information. It's nobody's business how you get to work or where you live, because that's just a reason to be biased. I've seen this. I've seen owners and managers say, oh, that person's going to be late because they have to commute to work. And the sad thing is, the place I was working was in an industrial area, so everybody has to commute to get to the work. So I was just like, what? So it's nobody's business. And if tardiness becomes an issue, I think as a business owner, we'll accommodate them. Say, okay, instead of 8 o'clock, your work start time is 8:30, and you just keep doing everything exactly the same. If they continue to be late at the new 8:30 mark, then there's an issue, because you gave them room and the runway, right? So, but being 5 minutes late, even regularly, is not a big deal at all, unless you're the person who opens the store or closes the store, or your role is client facing. So as soon as the doors open, you start serving clients, or customers, then you need to be on time, right? Because that's affecting your service. So a business could also say, well, we demand you're here 15 minutes early, but we will be paying you an extra 15 minutes. It's unethical for a manager or owner to tell you you have to be there early, unpaid, to start work, to be prepared to work right at the start time. That's unethical. That's a red flag. Get out of that organization. So, carrying on with my sister's resume, right? No, just get out of there. Okay. So, you've got your education first here, Joy. Don't put your education first. What are your resume is like totally backwards. What's going on here? Is this resume set up for a certain type of job? Like, are you specifically applying for something? What the hell? Jesus Christ, terrible resume. It's terrible, Joy. Terrible. Okay. It's not terrible. It's just backwards and weird. Okay. So, education. People only put their education first if they have absolutely no experience and or they are going into academia. So I'm applying for a job to be an instructor at a university. I'm trying to get that new professor role. I'm going into research. I'm some high-tech, high education fields, I mean, if you're a lawyer, if you're some sort of scientist, those sorts of fields. Hello, Mom. My mom just waved hello. She's on Facebook and she had to make a comment. That's my mom. Hi, Mom. Anyway, we'll take her off of there. So, only put your education first if you're going into a field that is education or needs a high education. So if you're going into some researcher role or a lawyer or something like that, because you're going to want to brag about your law school, and or if you're a scientist, you're going to want to brag about this or that. So I would take that off, or not take it off, move it down to the bottom. It feels like right now, because volunteer experience is always important, and people forget about the volunteer experience. So I would say move all this down to the bottom. I'm not going to do the editing for you. You can edit it yourself. So move all that stuff down to the bottom. Okay. So I know you don't have higher education, right? So you're trying to put in your secondary school, your high school graduation. I might consider taking out the dates on that, because again, this is another way for someone to be biased, to say, oh no, Joy graduated in 93, so she's too old for our organization, or we have a bunch of young people working here and she won't get along. Ageism is a thing. And I mean, if I was in a position to hire someone who's like 65, but they're an expert in HR or training or something like that, I would value that input. Even if they could only work with me for a couple of years before they finally retire, I would bring them in because I would want to learn from them, right? But there's a lot of organizations that are going to say, oh, she's old. Now, with my own resume, I have kept the dates in for my HR certificate and my degree, because they are relatively new, and it actually makes me seem 20 years younger. Excellent, right? It's how you taught me 1,000 years ago. Okay, well, things have changed in 1,000 years, Joy. So only if you're in academia. And of course, I learn and grow too. So how resumes are set up for me have changed. So I would move the education down to the bottom. I would probably take out your dates for your secondary school. Like these ones, 2018 and all that, that's great. Those aren't too old. 2013, you might want to keep that. Management courses, well, if you could get the names of those management courses from Northern Lakes College, then that would be helpful. And I would not use an abbreviation. I would use Northern Lakes College for each of them, right? Now, library conferences, yeah, you do end up learning stuff, but you might want to consider just kind of putting this one into your library experience section and take it off your education. That's what I would do. It was more of a professional development type thing, but if you can't name the specific sessions you took at the conference, because I couldn't remember the sessions I took when I used to go to the library conferences either. So there was always two, right? There was the one big one in Jasper, the Alberta Library Conference, and then the Peace Library System would also put on their Peace Library System Conference, and that was more local to northwestern Alberta and all the different libraries and stuff there. So I mean, I don't even mention those anymore. I guess that's something I could put on. Took library training and went to conferences on my own resume, right? But I would put that into my volunteer section because I acted as a volunteer, being on the board at the library. You spend years going to conferences. And now, is this a correct date? September 1994 till April 2014? I don't know if that date's right, because you weren't involved in the library back in the 90s. I think you were shouldn't that have been 2004, not 1994? Anyway, fix that date. You could go in here and fix it while we're talking too. That's fine, but whatever. Just try to remember everything. So you're putting your volunteer experience first. I wouldn't. Definitely put your experience first. So let's go down and look at your work experience, right? So I mean, this is okay. You're putting your dates on the left side. That's fine. It's just not as standard as putting it. Normally you would put your position and then the date over here in line with your position, the date you worked there. So it's like position, date, and then underneath the title you would put the company you worked for, and this is your own company. And so that's, I mean, it's good experience, but you should be putting in a little more, because you're not just using your riding lawnmower, you're also doing some administrative work, you're booking appointments, scheduling appointments, and things like that. So you could add a couple more points on there with the administrative side of things that you're doing. I think that's something that we always forget about. Okay, you're doing lawn maintenance, but there is a back end to that. You're scheduling, maybe you're doing some advertising and some marketing. So think about, get creative, try to add a couple more points in. Right now, I used to advise 10 bullet points because I wanted you to get as much information, as detail as possible. Now I'm thinking more like 5 per work experience, and possibly a couple for volunteer experience, because volunteer experience is still experience, right? So I think you should start with, basically you're moving your education to the bottom, you are moving your experience up, but now you need some sort of summary thing that's kind of short and sweet, couple paragraphs. That's usually a good place to put down if you speak more than one language. I spent the last few years doing XYZ, and I'm looking for more responsibility in this area. And I also speak English and French fluently, or whatever, right? Like you're kind of keeping it like that. I can show more examples once I pull up my own resume. Now, it doesn't have to be like mine. I'm just saying, from an HR person's point of view, and they're looking at hundreds of resumes, it's got to make sense for them. If you're in academia, that's what they care about. you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, professor, these jobs that are really education heavy for you to have that career, then that goes on top. After, again, your summary, quick summary of what you do, what you plan on doing, right? So you would put that first, a summary, and then you would put your work experience and try to add a few more bullet points. You can leave it like this with the dates over here, but I think it could mess people up a little bit. So title, date over here, and then move the name of the organization down here with the location of the organization. So Grant Lawn Maintenance, Wabasca, Alberta, right? And then you start your bullet points. Put your dates over here, so they're kind of out there, so you can see them on the right side. But you could leave it like this. It's no big deal with this setup, but certainly add some more bullet points in here. Oops. I would add some spaces, man. Put a space between each of these jobs, each of these experiences. It is hard to read when they're like that. I can see now that this is a job, this is a job. White space is good, right? You want normal page formatting. You want the normal font, normal settings, edges. What the heck are those called? Anyway, your headers and footers and stuff. Yeah, anyway, you want the page to be normal. You don't want too much. Just a chunk of black writing is hard to read. And if I just read 400 resumes and now I'm looking at yours, I'm going to put you in the bin, the garbage bin, right away, because it's like, I can't even read this, right? Like, that happens. It happens. I guarantee you. If I've got a choice between two candidates and I can read one candidate's resume because they've used white spaces and the other candidate is just a black blob of text, I'm going to be like, screw this. This person doesn't know how to even make a document, right? So with this, absolutely give it more space, give it more white space and things like that. In general, I like to say create a resume for a specific job or industry that you want to be in. Then you could leave off some unrelated experiences or, put a few more bullet points in the ones that are related. So if you have a plan to go get an admin job, well, gear towards the admin stuff. So if you wanted to leave Grant Lawn Maintenance on there, you should put down some of the paperwork you're doing and the administrative stuff you're doing, right? That makes it viable, makes it relevant for an admin position. If you are saying, I want to apply for, a job working for another lawn maintenance company, then certainly you want to talk about the type of lawnmowers you've used, type of yard you've maintained, right? You want to go into a little bit more detail about the physical work. So it just depends. Some people might benefit from having more than one resume because it's tweaked for a different job that you're trying to apply for. But in general, I love having one resume that you just update. Now, with me, with my career being in HR, and now it's kind of leaning more into training and stuff like that, I'm good with one resume. if I was trying to apply for different types of jobs other than HR related jobs or trainer type jobs, then I would consider, let's change it up. Put some white space in there. Driving me nuts. And on that note, your font size. You have font 10, 11 or 12 font size. This is too small, especially for an old HR person like me trying to look with my bifocals, right? I would definitely keep it as 11 or 12 font, because it's going to be easier to read. Yes, it means your resume might grow longer. So we have other tips for that to try to keep your resume in place. Trying to keep it in the 3 to 5 page range. I think if you can get 3 or 4 pages, that's probably all right. My resume for a long time was 5 pages. And I mean, your resume really needs to be as long as it needs to be to convey your experience in that specific industry that you're applying for. So you might create a general resume that has absolutely everything on it, all your experience, and then you say, oh, I'm applying for this job. So you make a copy of that resume and you narrow it down. You take out all the irrelevant stuff and just put the type of experience and send that resume off. If they ask you for more, then you can give them more. You have a general resume that you could share also, right? But they need to see the hiring manager, the HR person, the recruiter, these people that are looking at your resumes, they need to be able to see it and read it properly. You could use more terminology. I'm just thinking about just this one line here. Using my riding lawnmower to maintain larger yards. Okay, well, you could say the type of lawnmower you're using or the type of equipment you're using, and you're maintaining large yards. Well, I know in Wabasca, basically every yard is an acreage. It's half an acre, or quarter acre to a couple acres, right? Those are big lots. So you could use large/acreage yards or something like that, then that maybe conveys what you mean by large. If you say large yard in Edmonton, that's probably our yard. We got a relatively small front yard and a slightly bigger backyard. But I know what Joy's doing is yards that are like lots that are 2 and 3 times the size of my lot. And there's a house, maybe a garage, maybe a shed, and then there's just this massive area of lawn. Like, that's a big lawn. You could call that an acreage lawn, right? So terminology for your job, for your industry, certainly try to remember what the keywords, the language, the jargon, whatever you want to use. If you're using an abbreviation, like she abbreviated Northern Lakes College to just NLC, well, nobody knows what that is. I know, because I'm from Wabasca and I used to work for Northern Lakes College, right? So I knew what the abbreviation was. So certainly, and I've taken courses from Northern Lakes College too. My Biology 30 and my sociology. Yeah, I love sociology. It was exciting. And I think I took a couple other courses too, university courses, when I started to try to get my political science degree. Anyway, so this needs a bit of work, but it's really some of this, like the format, the way you have it here, you could leave the dates. It's kind of my preference, but just make sure it's it's readable. I think that's more important than changing those dates around. Right, she got all her work experience up here. So I'm just going to continue talking about the work experience. Okay. So you've got a lot of experience on here. So you need to decide what is going to be relevant to you. This list of experience, I see this as your general resume. Everything's on there. You just want to flesh out each role with a few more bullet points and things like that. But something from 1992 to 93, White Way Laundry in Slave Lake, that is not really relevant to today, because that is 30 years ago, right? In general, 10 years worth of experience. I had recently had someone ask me why I didn't have any experience before 2016. That was about 10 years. And previously to that, I'd worked for the federal government, and it was something that I no longer deemed experience, but it was a case management role. I was admin assistant, right? That's my role. I worked at mailroom. I worked reception. I worked right with parole officers. I was the person who was generating the Canada-wide warrants when an offender broke their parole, right? Like, I did that. And I was there for 5 years. And I thought, well, it is past a 10-year position, but it does show all my administrative experience that I do have. So I'd applied for a different position recently, and she came back and said, what did you do before this, right? So it added this extra 5 years of experience on me, and it was government experience, and it was real hardcore administrative experience to stuff I did. So it really showed that I'm very familiar with the office environment and things like that. And it was only at this point 15 years ago. So it's relevant, but anything older than that, I worked at 2 different libraries. I worked at 2 different video stores. I worked as a security guard. I worked my very first actual job other than a family laundromat. I worked as a unit clerk at a hospital emergency room, and I worked as an IT specialist at a local school. Right, there's a lot of stuff that really is not relevant anymore. I really value my volunteer experience because it shows my nonprofit leadership experience, and that's something I really value. So when it goes to my volunteering, I show a little bit more. But I would say, Joy, what do you got here? I mean, you do a lot of the management skills that we got from the family laundromat and things like that. Like, that's important, but it is starting to get a little out of date. So I might say everything past that might be time to get rid of. You could leave it on a general resume, and if there's something that specifically gives you experience for a certain role, leave it on there. But in general, I would take this off every time I reapply, but keep it there in the general so you have evidence of it, right? And I would certainly add just a few more bullet points. Like these are good, right? These got some good bullet points. The only thing with this, I would say try to combine a few of them so that you can make this a little bit less. Just a few bullet points less. 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So if you could get this to 10 or lower, but maybe try to see if there's some that kind of combine, and you can, I'm not even going to go in too close and say what you can combine, but certainly I would try to combine them. So you've got this twice, right, for your grant lawn maintenance. I would just combine them and say from 2013 to present, you were doing lawn maintenance, right? I would just combine them. I mean, it is only like 4 years gap in there, but I'm sure you still mowed a lawn every now and again, maybe even your own lawn. I know it's a very big lawn. You could say that you have an acreage lawn, right? So I would just combine that, right? I would combine those. I would try to add more info on that if you can. You could add another point on that. This isn't too bad, but you might be able to add a few more points to that. And this is the guard, we got 20. And you have this listed as on-call, 4 years of on-call. But it rolls right into full-time guard. Combine those and just say guard. And you could say, if you wanted to, on call from these dates, right, as a bullet point or something like that. But in actuality, you were a guard. Whether you were on call or full-time doesn't matter as much. Combine them. It's the same job, the same experience. It just, when you first started it, you did it less, but you ended up getting into a full-time role. So certainly combine them. Again, part-time's okay. You could just take it out and say receptionist, but part-time gives a little more description. But I would certainly try to put a couple more bullet points in here. I mean, it was a relatively short period. So if you could add a couple more points, that would be awesome. But I would say you might want to say why you stopped working there. Sometimes it makes sense to say it, but a lot of times it's just nobody's damn business why you left an organization, right? So maybe not. If you feel you're going into interviews and a lot of people are asking you, hey, why did you leave this organization? Maybe it's time for you to add something there. And I mean, it's easy for you to just say, they laid me off because of slow business. Nobody was dying lately, right? So whatever. I'd applied for a library job recently, so I made sure it was on there. Yeah. And that's important, obviously. If you're applying for a library job, then show your library experience, even if it is a little bit older. That's where we can say, let's mix and match, just put our relevant experience in. With your lawn maintenance and the unbound creations, now you are saying advertising. Remember the difference between marketing and advertising. Advertising is paid. You've paid someone to put up a billboard. You paid Facebook to run ads. You've paid for the neighborhood kids to walk around and put flyers on people's doors, doorknobs, or whatever, right? Like, you paid someone. You're using the word promoting. I would use the word, replace both of these and just say marketing, because that's what you were doing, right? Unless you were specifically paying for something, you were marketing. You're talking about it online, you're going to events, whatever. You're emailing people and saying, hey, come buy my shit, right? That's marketing, as opposed to advertising. It's paid. And I think promoting, I had applied for a library job recently, so I made sure it was on there. And oh my God, that library list was way longer. Okay. Well, that's all right. If that's the career you're going into and it's a little longer, that's fine. But there's a lot of irrelevant stuff if you're applying for specifically a library position. I mean, it is essentially customer service and administrative work. That's kind of maybe you're also working with the local library board, so you're kind of helping the leadership of the organization a bit. So lawn maintenance does not fit in there for that resume, unless you say I was doing a lot of administrative work and marketing and things like that, possibly creating content for, as part of marketing, creating content for the library, like you're putting up posters and posting about events and programs happening at the library. So you kind of end up doing a lot of marketing stuff. So put that in there, make sure it's in there. I didn't see if it was in there, but what else? So yeah, you need to shorten down this work experience, add a few more points where it's a little bit lacking. Try to get, I don't know, it's hard to say how many points you want. I'm aiming for 5 or 6 right now, but I'm combining a lot of this information into one sentence, right? So I'm not saying I write policy, I write bylaws, I create strategic plans, I create operating plans, right? I'm not putting that. I've combined those all into one and said I do, writing in these 3 or 4 different areas, right? Like I've combined it. So things like that you can easily combine, shorten it up. But I would say, yeah, anything that's too old, like I would say beyond this, right? This is 97. So definitely anything older than that. I mean, it just gives you, I would try to go heavy on like admin type stuff as much as possible. But this older stuff from here, definitely let's get rid of it, unless, like I say, you're going for a specific type of job, like you want to be a bakery assistant again, right? Or something like that. Then you want it on there. So summary, your work experience, add more points, put fewer of them. You could combine a few of them, like I mentioned. Where are we? Okay, so you'd have the summary, you'd have your experience, and I would put my volunteer experience, this section in. This is your third section, right? Oh my God, slow office location because nobody was dying to use our services. Literally, she worked at a funeral home. Nobody was dying to use our services. Ouch. Ouch. That reminds me of the time I worked at the hospital. Stupid 18-year-old. The head nurse called me to talk to me about something, and I didn't realize it was her calling. I didn't recognize the number or something. I answered the phone. I said, Wabasca Hospital, you stab them, we slab them. Oh! And it was the head nurse. She paused for a second, and then she said, nice, Ian, in this really stern voice. Yeah, to be a kid. Anyway, so your volunteer experience should be third. You can remove the word third. Where's the second, right? You're going to need a summary that's first. You want your education to be fourth. So your volunteer experience, I would definitely try to add a few more points to this. Joy, you've done a lot of great volunteering. Is this all you did for the organization while you were with the Lions Club, right? Membership campground supervisor, webmaster, right? Were you on the board? Were you on the board? Like, were you doing board work? Were you attending board meetings? Right? Was that something? Or was it just, you're just a volunteer and you just did these things? Right? There's kind of a difference between volunteering, like, you know, you go down to the local soup kitchen and you're helping to dish out soup. That's a regular volunteer. Or did you join the organization as a board member and you go to board meetings and you're helping to direct the whole organization, right? There's a difference in that experience level that, you know, just, I don't want to say low level experience. I mean, everybody's important, but when you move to that next level as a board member, there's a certain level of responsibility, a certain level of fiscal responsibility. You're dealing with budgets of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars, right? So it's important that you show that sort of responsibility and experience. Parent dance committee, right? Chairperson, help plan events, register dances, make notes, and attendance sheets. Okay, you were the chairperson. You created agendas and ran the monthly meeting. Right? There was more to this role than just these things. And I know it was. So don't be scared to add 3 to 5 bullet points on your volunteer experience if you've got it. Your sister's in Edmonton and she's probably sitting in front of your house. Creepy! Probably not. The cleaners were here. I don't know if they left. So there was a couple extra vehicles out front. Let me look. Looking at the camera. The Ring camera. And it's not loading. Probably not loading because I'm using all the bandwidth with this. I don't know. I don't think she's sitting out front. There's a van and 2 SUVs out front. I forgot what my sister drives. Anyway, stop being creepy, Joy. Okay, so where were we? Yes, volunteer experience. I'm laughing. Okay, so with the volunteer experience, it's experience. You weren't getting paid for it, but you were still doing a job for that organization. So definitely add more points, right? Now, Wise Library says that you were a volunteer library assistant at the Slave Lake Municipal Library. Some of these, again, are really old. I would say get rid of these ones because they're old. Right? This is, a yearbook stuff. I don't have any of my stuff from high school on there. I was student union council president like 2 years, 3 years, and I started a group called Youth for Change, and we were just trying to do good things and bring awareness to change, end bullying, save the planet type stuff, right? I would definitely get rid of these. I would keep from the president, vice president role from Children's Place Play School Association, but the older stuff is from high school and really not that relevant anymore, because you have so much volunteer experience, and I know you were in leadership roles for these organizations, that you have a lot more leadership experience than you're displaying on your resume. You're missing it. It's not popping out at me, right? So again, you were secretary here. What's fundraising? Volunteers help with here. So you were secretary, but you didn't really list anything that a secretary does. You were in charge of taking minutes, maybe, not always, but you were a secretary's role in most organizations is you were in charge of the documents. You were in charge of making sure things were organized. Right? So yeah, you said yes, you were on the board, right? And one time you were secretary. So these things you need to talk about. The Lions Club, you look like just a low-level volunteer who decided to do some things for the organization. There's no indication that you were in a leadership role, managing or helping to manage the organization. Didn't even add all the Santa Anonymous stuff you did, and it's important for small communities, absolutely. Maybe that's something you can add in, especially if it was really relevant, so the volunteer stuff I put forward is stuff that I know lends to my leadership experience. I'm doing this on purpose. So it really depends on what your optics you want to be, but it's a missed opportunity to say I was in a leadership role, right? I was responsible for a budget of $100,000, right? It was when I was on the Peace Library System board, we had millions of dollars. That's what the budget was. And I was helping to manage that, the upper level stuff, right? No, I'm in St. Albert on my way north now after Walmart. I did drive by earlier. All right. Thanks for the drive by there, Joy. Anyway. Sorry. Having a good cough. So, Yeah, don't forget the volunteer experience can be a valuable place for real world experience, especially leadership experience. I mean, if you were secretary multiple times, that's essentially saying I got admin work in other organizations, right? And talk about that. I know my wife, she is the treasurer for our local community league. So she's getting all kinds of experience with basic, well, maybe not the bookkeeping, but she's organizing the money. She's in control of the money. She's writing checks. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that she does as the treasurer. And being on the board, she's getting this leadership experience. I mean, she doesn't have that type of experience with her current role in her current organization. So, okay, bye, Mom. My mom says bye. I'm going to have to watch this later as I'm fixing my... Yeah, probably. No, you just need to remember it all, says my sister. I'll have to watch it later. Well, that's the beauty thing. It's being recorded. It's going to be up there. You can watch it later. And it'll add to my views. Yeah. So, don't forget the value of your volunteer experience. And in this case, Joy, get rid of everything down from the 30-hour famine. But if you did more experience in there, certainly add it. If you're Santa's anonymous, I don't know exactly how that works. But if you're on the board there, that's valuable, right? So add it, put some points. 3 to 5 points is probably good for volunteer experience. But if it was really intense and you were there a long time, go ahead, add more points, bullet points. So we got summary you need to create. Then we get the experience. Then we get the volunteer experience. And then you put your education in. Then it should be nothing else. So, personal. In the short term, I would say personal, just get rid of it. You don't need any of this stuff in there. It does not matter to the organization whether or not you have 3 kids and 3 grandkids, right? It does not matter to them if you became a homeowner at a certain date, right? Like this stuff. You may want to put down that you have a class 5 license somewhere, and that could be in your summary, right? I have experience doing this and I want to move into this type of career. I have a class 5 driver's license and I speak fluent French. I know you don't speak fluent French, but I mean, like, that's where you put your language in, right? That would be your summary, something a little bit simple. So you don't have to have this whole section. Now you've got other things like dedicated, very honest and straightforward. There's no proof of that. Everybody says they're dedicated. Everybody says they got a fantastic sense of humor, artistic and drawing. I mean, some of these points could get put into one of your experiences, whether it's the volunteer or the actual work experience. It could be put in there, right? Dedicated, very honest and straightforward. Okay, the better way to say that is, I arrived every day to open up and I was never late, right? I mean, that's dedication, right? I mean, and that's like at just one of your jobs. So, but saying any of this stuff, say you were in a position, you got calm demeanor under pressure. Okay, well, let's add it to a job. Let's add it someplace, right? So, could be part-time receptionist at the Northwest Funeral Chapel. You could add it there and saying, I had a calm demeanor and was able to help my customers in their time of need and high stress, or something like that. Like, that showed that you cared about that their family member just died, right? As opposed to saying, I just sell coffins, man. Right? So these sorts of things, look at each one of these things that you value as an asset or an achievement. Some of it is completely irrelevant. This is a job. They got no business knowing how many kids you got or how many grandkids you got. That's none of their goddamn business, right? Take that off for sure. Homeowner, I mean, I know you're thinking this makes me a more responsible person that I have a mortgage, right? Or I own a lot, but it really doesn't matter. It's really nobody's business. I mean, what if you were just a renter? I mean, you still had to pay rent, and nowadays rent is like same as a mortgage, so you still had a responsibility to pay out for your housing. So it really doesn't matter that much. But look at these ones that you consider assets, this little section, and see if you can combine those into some other job, but rephrase it differently. Like fantastic sense of humor. You could add that into any of these positions. I relate well to my clients with my great sense of humor, right? Like put it in there, because when you put this list of assets is essentially a list of skills with no proof. And we don't want just a list of skills. We want those skills integrated into a specific job so that you can see, I did this skill. I physically did this job, this thing, this skill. It was part of this job, right? So it's a little more proof, because everybody can say, I'm a hard worker. I'm a hard worker. I'm dedicated. I'm honest. I mean, if someone says they're honest, my spidey sense goes up and I'm thinking, oh, this guy's got to be the most dishonest person on the planet because he said I'm honest. Because that's exactly what a dishonest person says, right? I mean, obviously, it's not going to be that way. I do consider myself to be one of the most honest people on the planet, almost to a fault. I love taking blame, and I use my honesty as a attack on people, right? I weaponize my honesty, but I don't put it in my resume, right? It's not something that I put on my resume. Nowhere in my resume does it say I'm honest, right? Right? All these things could be rephrased into a job that you were doing or a volunteer experience that you were doing, right? Change these out. Get rid of this whole personal section, but try to put these assets rephrase it into a different job. Right? Hobbies, no way, man. Nobody should be sharing their hobbies with their employer, who's going to use them against you, right? So I have seen people put down that they like to travel, and I've been in organizations where the manager said, no, don't consider that person because they're going to be requesting time off all the time to go traveling, right? And that was just, I love to travel. It's nobody's business. It's another reason to discriminate against you, right? I don't know how to discriminate against someone who says they like sewing or painting or drawing or scrapbooking, right? Other than maybe this person is going to steal office supplies for their hobby, right? Like, you can find reasons to discriminate against anyone for any reason. So don't give reasons to do that. Reading, oh, this person's gonna just bring a book to work all the time and just read when nobody's looking around, right? Resume writing, I mean, are they gonna constantly be looking for a new job? I mean, like, mowing lawns, I don't even understand. I do supervised visits. I don't even understand that phrase. That makes no sense to me. Take it out of there. I mean, this whole section gone, but you want to take this section and see if you can rephrase them and put them into a different work experience or volunteer experience. Or even an education experience, right? If it makes sense to put it into an education experience. A lot of times we use programs like Microsoft Office and Word or Excel in university or in our education to get our assignments done. But then you go out into the real world and you start doing your jobs and it's got nothing to do with these programs. So you may not be able to say, I use Microsoft Word on a daily for this position. You might not be able to say that, but you can say, I learned Microsoft Word to do my assignments, right? So you have experience with Microsoft Word. Whether or not you use it on the regular, that's a different story. But you are familiar with the program and have used it before. My hair is just driving me nuts. So, where are we? Yeah, get rid of this one. Get rid of that personal section. It's gone. And we're talking about all these sections. You can reorganize it. Give spaces. Cut off some of these. Anything that's too old. References. Personal references. My God. Get rid of these. How do you do this? It's taking too long. You are sharing personal information of other people. Don't put your reference information in there. That's their personal information. It's not your personal information, right? Don't even put the phrase references available upon request. Everybody knows this. So with the hiring process, you see a job ad. You send in your resume and your cover letter. It might run through an automatic machine to see if you're using all the right jargon and keywords for your industry. And then finally a person looks at it. At the ones that are certain, you're 60 or above % of what we're looking for. And then finally somebody looks at it and then they decide whether or not you should get a phone interview. And so you get the phone interview and then they decide based on the phone interview. And usually at this point, it's like the hiring manager really gets involved and the recruiter is like, here's a couple candidates. Here's the info from their phone interview. Do you want to have an in-person interview? Or nowadays we do a lot of Zoom video conference interviews. It's become a norm. So at that point, they will say, please bring your references to the interview or have them ready. We'll request them at the interview, right? Like something like that. Or if we offer you the job or after the interview or something, like if you get to the second interview, then we would ask for the references. And that's how it works. Everybody knows how that works. So you don't need to say references available upon request, and you're certainly not adding them there. So I would create a second document that you keep that has your reference information on there and try to write down the roles of how this person has become your reference. So we were at this job together, they supervised me, or we worked together, or I supervised them, right? Whatever the reference might be. a lot of times they want supervisory references. And I think a lot of us maybe sometimes burn a bridge on our way out of an organization, and we can't use our previous boss as a reference. I think that's why it's important that you leave organizations kind of amicably, or kind of a celebration, saying, oh, I got a job as a manager over here, so I'm going to be leaving the organization, right? This is a time for joy and celebration, and then you help train the new person that's going to take over your role, and then you're gone. Too often we're just, I'm gone, this place is bullshit, I'm gone, right? And then we can't use that supervisor as a reference. So certainly don't use this personal information. So how many pages we got on here? I probably wouldn't put the date, right? Put the date in there. You don't need the date in there like that. I do like the little bit of purple you're using. I used to put a nice little green line in on mine, but I just stopped doing it because it took up a line. Man, it took up a line, so I'm like, I can't I can't put that extra line in. So I think insert where's the come on, insert, maybe it's format, page numbers, put that in there, put the page numbers in there. Oh, that's in the wrong spot. Put it in the footer, show on the first page, start at 1, right? Yeah, there. Want it at the bottom. Now you've got this. Get rid of this line. You want it to be in here beside your page number. Right there. Oh my God, there's still a page number up here. Oh my God. Oh, want the page number at the bottom. I don't even know. Page numbers. Footer. Okay, let's see if that works. That's what we want. You want an extra space in there. Boom. Okay, that's what you want. Joy Grant 1, 2, 3 pages. So like we've shrunk this down. It could get more or less. You're taking out big chunks here, right? But you're adding a few more points here. You're getting rid of this section, but you're kind of expanding some of these points into other areas. You're possibly adding a few more points here. You're moving this down, and you're adding a summary section, right? Right, you want a summary in there. Like two sentences. Right? Maybe 3 sentences. That's 2 to 3 sentences, right? That's your summary. That's all you're putting in there. And you're certainly not bolding that. But all this should be 11 or 12. Oops. What's going on here? Size. 11. Boom. That's easier to read. So we are on the 4 pages, but you're going to cut a whole bunch of stuff out. So I think you can easily get back to 3 pages at this new font size. And you'll have to readjust shit. Sorry, it's all messed up now. I don't know, that looks terrible. You have to work on the formatting a little bit, but we can get rid of some lines here, obviously. Get it back all in line so it looks good. So I'm just doing simple stuff there, but that's what you should be doing. I tried to number it. When you get back on Joy, because she's left now, but certainly, yeah. Okay, we're done with that. So I'm going to unshare that. And let's share my resume. Screen. Okay. So what I've been doing with my resume. So I've got my summary. One line. 2 lines, 3 lines, 3 sentences. Sorry, not lines, sentences. So I got 3 sentences in my summary. My font size is 11. I'm using Calibri. Keeping it simple looking. I did use a different font on this. My wife uses Georgia on her section heading, so I thought I'd try and see what it looked like. Right, human resources consultant. This is my business. Date over here. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. And you see I combined a lot of programs I use. And I've kind of put everything into this line, full cycle HR services, right? And then I just kind of listed everything, trying to make it shorter. Human resources manager. Right, and I kept this simple. A lot of this stuff I'm kind of repeating, the full cycle HR stuff, just to keep it simple and trying to keep whatever. But I would put it, if it's the same job, put the same information in. I mean, same type of job, and you did the same type of work, put it in there anyway, because sure enough, someone's going to be like, oh, it says you did this job, but it shows different tasks from this one, which is identical, right? Like always somebody, right? So you've got to treat everybody like they don't know what this job is. And now what I like to mention is that the recruiter or the HR person or even the manager that is looking at your resume may not be an expert in the position you are applying for. So definitely just put it in again, right? Now here's the interesting change I did. So I have this listed as Kairos Canada, and I have the total experience from June 19th to present. So this is like 6 years, 6 months or something like that, right? I just started as the general instructor here in Edmonton. So that's this month's date to present, right? And I've been doing the contract facilitator position for a long time, since I left Kairos as an actual employee. So I've 2019 to present. And I was the KBE regional director in Alberta North, and I did all these tasks. And I started at June 19th, but I ended in August 2020. That's because I got the big contract to work for Big Stone Oilfield Supplies and Services and Supplies. So I picked up that contract full time. So I was like, there's just no way. Like I couldn't manage the job at the same time, even though the KBE contract position was like only 10 hours a week. I was started to work full time at Big Stone Oilfield. So, right, I couldn't do the job. So that's, my dates kind of line up and I can explain why there's overlap or whatnot, right? Because I didn't really know how long I was going to be at Big Stone Oilfield. So I was trying to keep something else going. And we got to do that sometimes, right? We got to make sure we got that backup plan. In hindsight, I kind of wish I hadn't quit that position for this because dun dun dun, they let me go in December. They let my HR assistant go, they let the construction manager go, and I guess they let a couple other people go. And like HR is always the first one to go when there's a organizational problem, except I feel like that's bad advice. That's a bad action, man. If you have an organization that has more than 75 employees, you absolutely need HR in your organization. That's not some organizations could do without a receptionist, no problem, right? But your HR at that point needs to be there. And everything else kind of looks about the same, but I did shrink down some, and I tried to make it more, trying to encompass what the job was and stuff like that with fewer points, combining the points. And this was the admin job I was talking about, the case management assistant with the Correctional Service of Canada. And I added in all these things that I did for that position. Now, this makes it further than 10 years ago, because 10 years ago, it's 2025. So 2015 kind of should have been my cutoff. But I'd only started with 4 Pillars in January 2016. When I left the Correctional Service of Canada, I worked a couple little unrelated jobs. I worked at a gas bar for friends here in Edmonton, stuff like that, right before I got back into HR, or my first HR job. And it was kind of a hard time, but I didn't enjoy the work. Well, I enjoyed the work. I enjoyed the work as a case management assistant, but I had issues with the organization. And in hindsight, because I hadn't learned this about myself, there could have been a whole bunch of racism at play in the management structure I had there at the time. Even though I was just working my butt off, it's like nobody noticed. They only noticed when I got behind on work, and I have no idea why. I felt like I was being picked on, even though I was working my butt off. And I feel like I was doing a good job, and there might have been other people cutting corners so that they wouldn't get in trouble like I was getting in trouble. I had to do the job right every time. And unless everybody is just naturally faster than me, could be. I just made sure I was doing the job right. But anyway, that's 5 years of experience that was added on to the end, and it just shows I come from an administrative background, right? When I started moving into HR roles, because I was doing a bit of the administration here and the marketing there, and then these are similar administration type roles, but now it's showing that I'm facilitating and instructing, and this is pure HR manager role. So I might change the order of this because this is to present now. So I might move Kairos up to the second position. And right, I have my new role as general instructor. Oh no, that's here, general instructor, but I'm also a facilitator for HR training courses for TP Legacy Plus, TP Legacy HR Plus. So that has to get added in here, and that might come first, because I had officially started my business in January 2020. I registered the business name and became a corporation in 2023. I was doing some HR consulting contracting before that, but not a whole lot. But this was the official date to the start of my business. So I have to put in the training one from TP, and then probably move up my Kairos to second place, because 2020, 2019. So this will probably move up into second place. That's the easiest way to do that. Copy that, get rid of it, put it onto the bottom, insert that. I gotta give a space, right? It keeps trying to put in a comma. So I move that one, keep this one further up, keep this Kairos Canada further up, and then I'm going to be adding my TP Legacy HR Plus role up top, right? So not bad. And I kind of organize them based by when you start something. So when you start something, if you got multiples that are to present that you're still a part of, so you got a part-time job, or you're doing contracting like me or something like that, right? So I have Kairos to present, my own business to present, and now I'm starting the facilitation for TP, so that's to present. But I've been with Kairos longer, then I started my business, and now I'm just starting with TP. So that's the order they would go in. The newest one is TP, and then my business, and then Kairos. So that's how I sort it to present. It's when you started it. I mean, all these to present ones all go above everything else in your experience, right? But education. On my LinkedIn, I used to have a lot of the safety training I was taking, and I've decided that's not the direction I want to go. When I was part of Big Stone Oilfield, I wanted to highlight my safety training, and I actually wanted to become a trainer for WMIS and those quick and dirty ones that you need. I wanted to become a trainer for that, so that the organization, we basically had an internal trainer, so that all our guys, all our laborers, and everyone out in the oil field could get their safety training in-house. So that was the plan if I was staying there long term. And I haven't been in the construction industry or the oil field industry since. So I'm like, I took it off, right? I don't think I had it listed here. I did have it listed here, and I listed all the courses I had. And I had the same thing on my LinkedIn. I had all the individual courses, but I've taken them all off because I don't want to be in the safety industry. Safety is a subset of human resources, but usually you have the safety manager who handles everything, right? They don't necessarily report to HR. And my volunteer experience, I added some things that I was scared of, like my political organization. I'm like, the hell with it, I'm going to put it in there because I am doing some work there, right? It is experience, so I wanted it in there. And I just put, a point or two in each one. I didn't put a point in this one because it's the same organization. There was just a couple, a few years, 7 years different. So it was quite the change, but it's the same stuff. And I just left it here indicating, but I didn't put anything in there. And of course, if you'd have saw Joy's resume a few minutes ago, I was the president in the same organization where she was the president and the vice president for two different times. So she called me in to go help. And that's kind of where I first realized that I enjoyed going in and fixing organizations because I could kind of do it. So I've been trying to get good at the back office type stuff and organizing things. So, and of course, I spent a lot of years on the library board and, put that in there. So I could probably add a few more things on here, but that's it. Oh, my volunteer experiences. I'm going to move it. I had advised Joy to move hers, and I'm not even taking my own advice. Right? Put education last. Because I'm really leaning towards the fact that the experience you have is more important unless you're specifically going into academia or an industry where education is really valued, right? You're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're a scientist or something, a researcher, professor, right? These sorts of things where it's all about education. And then the only thing that might trump that is publications. So I published a research paper on this. This might go above your education if you're a researcher or something like that, right? Or even a book writer or something like that. If you've been published in some way, that might trump everything else and go to the front, go to the top of your resume right after your summary. But in those areas, I don't know, you might not need a summary, but the rest of us, we need a summary. So change that. And so I got my summary, 3 lines, 3 sentences. Then I got my experience, which is, I got to add one more. Got to add one more to this. It's going to be short. It's only going to be like 1-liner. Then my volunteer experience, and then my education. So this should be enough space for my extra job that I'm putting in now as the TP trainer. Then it stays at 3 pages. The old version of my resume was 5 pages because I had a lot of bullet points, and I felt it was necessarily to make sure you had lots of bullet points. And I still believe as many bullet points as you need to describe that role, but try to combine them. Multiple things that make sense to combine. So, like, like in all these jobs, I talk about full cycle HR services, and then it's kind of just listed them, right? So I've combined it. Yeah, I think, right, creation and updating of policy and employment contracts. So instead of having this in 2 sentences, I've combined it. So yeah. So yeah, there's a change. There's my new updated resume. I update my resume all the time because I never know when there might be a good job that I'm thinking about. And if I'm leaning towards the training workshop side of my industry, I think I'm really going to enjoy that. I'm excited, right? Oh my God, this brings me back to the story about getting my office that I talked about at the start of today's podcast. If I'm doing more training, I would love to have my own office that has a podcast room that maybe just doubles as my office. I don't need to be extravagant, but you could have a reception space and a little kitchen. And I want to at least have a second office so either my wife could come work there, or if I need someone else, they can work out of that office too. But I want a boardroom / training room. So probably training room, more of training room, right? So I have this big training room where I have a projector set up, or a smart projector, something cool, and I can run my training programs there instead of having to use a third-party location. So I wanted to be big enough so I could have the Kairos blanket exercise for up to 50 people in a big circle. I wanted to be able to have tables so I can run management training courses, or my TP courses even. I could have them there. And it would be nice to be able to hire an indigenous catering company like Curtis, who does TP treats. He's a distant cousin of mine, so it would be nice to be able to bring them in for catering and stuff. So if I don't know if I need another space, but it's exciting. I mean, and there's some office spaces that are quite near here that, like, a tiny office building. It's like 5 stories or something, and they got like 20,000 square feet available, right? And that would be awesome. It's a couple office, reception, tiny kitchen. I mean, I don't even know if I need my own washroom in there. It could be the washroom for the floor. Like these bigger office buildings, they have a washroom that's public or just for that whole floor, no matter who's renting the space, right? That would probably be fine. But yeah, that's kind of my little dream right now that I'm thinking of. And I think I would, if I could pick up a couple more training contracts with a couple organizations, I think that would be exciting. I don't know what they would be or anything like that, but that's exciting. That's exciting to me. Anyway, I'm done. Tomorrow is Friday, fun and games, right? I think I was supposed to go live on Whatnot tomorrow. Let me go to the Seller Hub and see what I got. No. Next Friday, November 28th, I'm going to be talking HR and trying to sell off some of my Magic the Gathering, some of my comic books, and other collectibles I might have. maybe I'll have more energy to do it next week. It's a harder show when I'm trying to sell stuff and running these little mini auctions or whatever, right? Like, um, so, and it ends up being a different setup. So, anyway, woo, sorry. Tomorrow's fun and games, so come out to that, and we'll talk about anything and everything: pop culture, games, Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, whatever you want to talk about. Okay. No more questions. I don't want you to ask any questions now. Too late. Too bad. So I'm gonna let you go. Okay. Talk to you tomorrow.